Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Ray Tampa podcast. My name is Jamie Wilson III, and I'll be your host today, filling in for Ray Tampa, who's unfortunately couldn't be here. I'm fortunate to have Mr. Russell Cato with me today as a co-host, who is a retired educator with more than 40 years plus of experience in Pinellas County schools. Today, we're going to talk about some of the proposed amendments that are on the Florida ballot. We're going to try to cover amendments 1 through 6 if time will allow. So let's jump right in. Amendment 1. So Amendment 1 is partisan election of members of district school boards. So if passed, this amendment would require members of the school board to be elected in a partisan election rather than a nonpartisan election. And the amendment would only apply to elections held on or after November 2026. Now, the purpose, if passed, would be to nominate political party candidates to that office for placement in the 2026 general election ballot. This could require candidates to list their political affiliations to the ballot during the process. So, in other words, so if you are in the wrong party and qualify for the job, you probably won't get the job or even be involved in the process based on your party affiliation. And to me, this sounds a little, has a little Project 2025 vibe to it. And a lot of voting no. A lot of people are voting no on this. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, first of all, we want to say that we wish Ray a strong recovery because we missed him already.
Oh, yeah.
But let's get to Amendment 1. And we want you to understand that this Tampa podcast is not to influence people to hear a name. And we just political want to correct things. That's all we're doing here. But let's look at Amendment 1. When I look at Amendment 1, I think the thing that stands out with me is the word partisan.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot see anything good when one is a partisan person.
I agree.
Yeah, partisan is a one-way street to self-pride or self-government or self-anything. I don't think nothing should be partisan. Now, in 1998, if I'm not mistaken, there was a vote for a partisan and nonpartisan vote. And I think that the voters went nonpartisan because that's what we're doing today. That's fair. What we're doing today. It's fair.
It's diverse.
It's diverse. It's truly diverse. I think what's trying to happen here is that certain political parties want control of the school system.
Republicans.
Yeah. And I leave it at that.
Yeah. And that's pretty much the problem, because if you look at some of the language in the 2025 project, this is in it. So they're moving forward, trying to anyway with their little strategy.
Yes, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to control the school system.
I mean, basically what we're trying to do is basically a PSA to let you guys know.
Yes.
Or explain or summarize some of the amendments. Because a lot of times when you get in there and you're getting ready to vote, and it's like, and some of the language is tricky.
Right.
So we're just trying to summarize it, put it out there. You vote how you vote. We have no control of that. We're not trying to influence this, as Russell said. We're not trying to do that. So we're going to move on to Amendment 2. The right to hunt and fish.
This one I don't know too.
Yeah, this is okay. Proposing this amendment would ensure forever fishing and hunting, including by the use of traditional methods as a public right and referred means of responsibility managing and controlling fish and wildlife. This will not limit the authorities of the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission under Section 9 of the Article 4 of the State Constitution Amendment. It says 2 states at the end, but interesting. The concern about this Amendment 2 is the language. and it could cause risks to Florida's wildlife as well as the ecosystem. I mean, because the wildlife plays a major part in our ecosystem. So some fear that it could override existing wildlife protection laws. And I look at like, it goes back to like extinction of certain species, certain predatory acts in the wildlife animal kingdom. It is necessary to keep a population in control, so that we're not overran. Just think about, like certain like badgers or what have you. Certain predators are needed to eat those, so we're not overran. They start coming into the city. What if lions, big like wildcats or more dangerous animals? It's kind of like what's going on in Miami in the Everglades there.
That's what we'll get
It's
to that.
overran. People have been throwing them and
I'm
multiplying
gonna get
and all
to
that
that.
stuff. So we need a type of population control, but I don't know a whole lot about this subject. But I know the hunt and fish people, they just want to overfish, overhunt. They just want to have their way. So no, that's, but you guys vote how you vote.
I'm like Jamie. I don't know too much about hunting and fishing. And by the way, this rule is already in the Florida Constitution. I don't understand why they're knocking it unless you just want to override it again. But I do believe, Jamie, what you're saying, it has something to do with the conservationists.
Yeah.
I think that's more of a conservation issue here than anything else.
Right.
That's all I know.
And that's really important.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But I would vote no on this too.
Okay. Amendment 3.
Oh my goodness.
Marijuana Legalization Initiative 2024.
Yes.
Ballot text says basically adult personal use of marijuana. Oh boy. I'm going to go into it. So if passed, this would allow adults 21 years and older to possess, purchase, or use marijuana products and accessories for non-medical personal consumption by smoking, ingesting, or otherwise. Medical marijuana treatment centers and other state licensed to cultivate and sell marijuana products. The Florida state legislature could also allow, via licensure, other entities to cultivate and sell marijuana products. And I think this is where it gets iffy. And there are some people that are concerned about it being monopolized, but it's too many other organizations like Truly, it's a bunch of them pouring money in. And they've been getting a lot of support financially for this. Now, some of the pros, people are talking about adult consumers of marijuana can legally purchase it without dangerous additives, like, how they're lacing marijuana with cocaine, fentanyl products, and people are dying. People are dying, but not because of the marijuana. It's because of what they're mixing into it.
Exactly.
Fentanyl is a killer.
Exactly.
Fentanyl is not new. It cycles every 10 years. You hear about it, so it's not new. The police can focus on more serious offenses, like violent crimes and other deadly drugs like the aforementioned cocaine and fentanyl that plague our streets, instead of arresting someone for a minuscule amount of marijuana. I mean, that's ridiculous. Marijuana has a lot of medicinal properties, as people are beginning to learn in the analgesic area. There's topical ointments. You can ingest it as tinctures. You don't have to smoke it for people that don't like to smoke. I mean, and it's real good. A lot of my patients with arthritis and whatever pain, a lot of them are using it. Some smoke it, some rub it in the areas that's affected. The other good thing is that what he did essentially decriminalize under a certain amount. Now, I don't know, in fact, if they're saying what amount you can have. I've read some areas to where if it's passed and it's recreational, you could grow a certain amount and you can have on your person a certain amount. Now, I've seen 2 ounces, I've seen 2.5, I've seen 3. I don't know the real number, but before you roll with it, when it's passed, make sure you know the law so that you don't get yourself in trouble. Because all these amendments have loopholes, so just keep yourself safe. Amendment 3 is supported by many organizations such as the NAACP, Florida for All, Florida National Organization for Women, the National Council of Jewish Women, just to name a few. And this information collected for wesh.com, WESH.com. Now, the cons, some people feel it's a bad look if you're smoking it in public in front of kids. Some people are concerned about larger cannabis firms would monopolize, as I mentioned before. Other concerns involve cultivation with use of pesticides and herbicides. This is also currently being used with tobacco products, and in commercial farming for the preservation. Most of the local growers that I know outside the state, I got some friends in Colorado, different places, they use, back to predators, we're talking about predators, keeping stuff under control. They use predatory insects to help get rid of unwanted pests during the shipping and cultivation of marijuana. So that's what they've been using, because it was a big deal at one point in California, when the law was first passed about pesticides.
Exactly.
What's your take on this, man?
Well, I look at it, the whole thing here is recreational marijuana. That's what the whole thing is about, allowing people to use it as a recreational drug.
Right.
And they have to be, 21 years or older.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing I like about this is the decriminalization of it.
Exactly.
I think
that's
to me,
that's
the biggest thing with this.
Because that hits our community.
Exactly.
Hard.
Exactly.
Hard.
Yeah. Of all the other things, I think this one. I do know it bring revenue to the local government and things like that.
Yes,
I can see that.
And
let's look at it, Jamie. The poll is saying that 64% of people in the state of Florida in favor of this right here. So
it's and that is accurate.
Yeah.
And that is accurate. And
I know.
It should have been done long ago. I mean, look, we got cigarettes, we got alcohol, recreational use. I mean, and alcohol is nothing to play with. That's a real killer if not controlled or used right. So
exactly.
And we just got to get past the negative, the negative outlook or that marijuana has, because it is beneficial medically and recreational. So I've been told.
Yeah, because really, in this way, you don't have to have a medical marijuana card too. That is something. But Jim, I think the biggest thing you hit on was decriminalization.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing about this.
That's real important.
Yes,
a lot of guys in jail. They've got their records are messed up.
Before, because of weed. Because of weed. Yeah.
We're going to move on to the next one. Amendment 4.
Oh boy.
Amendment 4 is just as controversial as Amendment 3, but obviously it's much more important than a little puff pass.
Truly.
Amendment 4 is passed will protect the right to abort in Florida and keep the politicians out of private medical decisions.
Truly.
Since May 1st, 2024, abortions in Florida has been illegal after 6 weeks of pregnancy with very few exemptions. In other words, it would have to be an act of God to get an exemption, get an abortion. You know what I mean?
Act of God.
Here recent. If passed, Article X, Section 22 of the Florida Constitution would stay in place, which is a law that states that medical providers are required to notify parents of guardians when a minor under their care is trying to have an abortion. And that's fair. That's the way it should be. The amendment would also provide a constitutional right to abort before fetal formation for viability between 23 and 24 weeks.
Very important.
Of gestation.
Very important right there. Very important.
According to a poll taken by the University of North Florida Public Opinion Research Lab, taken in late July 2024, nearly 70% of Floridian voters surveyed said they would vote yes on amendment. In a poll conducted in August 2024 by the KFF, an independent health policy research hub, discovered that 72% of reproductive age women
Uh-huh.
in Florida feel that the abortion should be legal
Yes.
in all or most scenarios. And this poll crossed all party lines.
Uh-huh.
Demos,
That's good.
all did it. We know that we all know that a man should have a total dominion over a woman's body or rights. For some, it's man's law versus religion.
Tradition.
And that's
Uh-huh.
where it kind of gets
Right, get
sticky,
home.
and I understand the religious part and I understand the man's law part.
Uh-huh.
And depending on who you are, one tops the other. There are many reasons why a woman may want to consider an abortion, such as rape, a diagnosis that will cause the child to suffer, basically, or one that could potentially kill the mother if while trying to deliver the child. It's economic reasons, poor planning, and other possibilities of serious deformities to the unborn child.
Yes.
Currently, exceptions for rape, incest, and human trafficking are included in the law, but you would have to have an official document showing that you are a survivor
Yes.
of these type of events. You would have to have reported the crime, collaborate with the law enforcement, and get more official documents in order to get the abortion in a very short time. So it really puts,
Mhm.
it's time sensitive. In other words, they really don't want to do it.
Mhm.
And that's the problem. On the flip side, some would say that you could be aborting someone that could one day cure cancer, be president, or invent something special that could elevate human progression and evolution. So it's, this is a very, very touchy
Very touchy subject.
amendment,
Sure.
but at the same time, you can't be taking away someone's rights either. What's your take, bro?
Well, I take that fully, Jamie. Good report. I think the whole idea is giving women the access to have the right
Mm-hmm.
to their bodies.
Mhm.
I really believe in that. No one should decide no more than that woman and that doctor.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
those are the two people that are most important, not the government.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that you brought out, this viability thing, under the Florida law now, it is 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Currently,
Now,
as it stands.
yeah, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous, Jamie.
Yeah.
6 weeks.
And they did it that early because to make it time sensitive to run, so
Yeah.
you could. It is.
It's crazy.
This should have never been overturned.
No,
Um,
no.
And obviously, men did it, I'm.
If you
I
look,
don't know what woman would be a part of this to even
I
vote
don't
for this
either.
to get overturned.
I don't either.
Listen to their husbands who's not a woman, who don't have to bear the going through the process of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or the feeling, or the feeling of, for some, the feeling of shame, the feeling of
Yes.
being scorned, the religious portion of the impact, you do what you got to do, but the choice is ultimately up to the woman
And
and
up
her
to the woman
position,
and her
and that
position,
no one
truly.
should judge.
Exactly.
No one here is God. We all sin, and not saying it's, one way or the other, but the choice should be up to the woman.
And look at what your poll showed, Jamie. 70%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
You're
let
taking
you
away
know.
someone's right.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't take
that's what you
away
do.
the rights of people.
No, you don't.
You don't do that. I was really shocked that it was even overturned.
I was shocked
we're
it
going
was too.
backwards, bro.
Yeah, I was really shocked.
Yeah. We were leaving the
Yeah.
studio when we were got wind of that. It's kind of crazy.
And they fighting this decision right now, and they're trying to whitewash it right now. The
Mhm.
Republicans are.
Mhm.
They don't know how to stand on this because they know that was a hell of a decision that they made.
It's terrible.
Terrible decision to go against. That's 50 years that thing stood.
Right.
I don't know, but that's good, Jim. This was great. Yeah, I like.
So we're going to move on to Amendment 5, Annual Inflation Adjustments on Homestead Property Tax System. Now this thing is tricky. I'm going to read it.
Yeah,
But it's tricky, and the language in it is, and I'm sure this is filled with loopholes.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
sure it's filled with loopholes for the ones with cash that could benefit. But I'm going to go into it. As of now, 2024, Florida property tax or millage rates were set by counties,
Mhm.
school districts, cities, and other special districts. Florida homes are assessed at market value minus the homestead of $25K. That reduces the taxable value of the property. And that $25K is not taxed on a primary resident.
Truly.
Another $25K of homestead exemption applies to homestead values between $50K and $75K, which exempts the amount from all taxes except school district taxes. I know this is confusing because, yeah, it is. Amendment 5, if passed, would provide annual inflation adjustments for the value of the homestead property tax exemption that applies to non-school taxes. The adjustment would occur on January 1st of every year based on the percentage change in the consumer price index reported by the U.S. Department of Labor if the change is positive. In other words, if it improves, it goes up. After reading about this amendment, there are many things that raise concern for me if this is passed. Florida has been growing over the past few years and erecting skyscrapers all throughout our downtown cities due to constant migration of new residents. Since we're already showing favor to special interest groups,
that's what it is,
and other big corporations,
that's what it is.
That would surely benefit from the legal loopholes in this amendment. Will further widen the gap in disparities in healthcare, because we have a lot going on with healthcare, getting access to healthcare. I just heard something I was discussing with Ray earlier about living conditions of these older people, falling in. This was before the storm, man. It's heartbreaking, but we got to do better. Okay, there's currently severe issues with our healthcare that deprive thousands of Florida residents from receiving much needed healthcare. This amendment could possibly require a 2/3 majority or supermajority vote of the state legislature to approve needed revenue, such as taxes and fees, eliminating tax incentives and loopholes that benefit the special interests, big corporations, and impede the ability to get state funding for access to healthcare services in our communities. What would it do to the housing market? Think about it. Basically, the buck will be passed. It would shift the burden onto the small business owners. Just say you got a bunch of rental properties, it's going to shift, and they're going to get it. Small businesses and landlords, they're going to shift that burden to the tenants, which means the rental prices are going to go up. And that's just one scenario of what it could do. So it'll be left up to basically the renters to cover the tax. They're going to go up. And right now, the way things are with rental prices, I mean, 700 square foot apartment, almost $2,000, not more. It's ridiculous. It will make it difficult for local government to support the first responders like medical emergency services and the police. It sounds like it would be giving Florida residents a little something based on a consumer price index algorithm that can be manipulated while grabbing 10 times as much with the other hand, including picking our pockets. So I don't think this would be, this is just my opinion. I ain't telling you how to vote, but I don't think this would be a good move. The home exemption that is current has been working fine for me. And I own multiple properties. But the one I live in, you know what I mean? What's your take?
My take of the word inflation. You know, I would like a lot of things to be adjusted based on inflation. Now, here's what I look at on this thing right here, because I don't like it. This is for certain groups of people, like us, teachers. This would do fine. This help public workers. Well, public workers, firefighters, policemen, teachers, and things like that. But what I don't like, now, as a teacher, I like that. Right. But what if you're not a teacher and you own a home? That is not fair.
We have a lot of renters here. We have a lot of renters here.
That is not fair, Chief. That is nowhere fair. To me, I'm okay with it. But being fair with this, no. If you can't give it to everybody, don't give it at all.
Exactly. No. And if you read the full body of it, it'll make you a little uncomfortable.
Yes.
Because the financial burden is being shifted, but it's shifting to people that's having a hard time already.
Yeah.
They're having a hard time trying to pay bills and what have you. Because if you own something, you just want to raise your price.
Yeah.
I
tell you what would happen too. It would destroy the local system of property taxes because they can use that money to do other things with. If this thing came in, boy, they would just go down the tube.
Yeah.
It would go down the tube. It's not good.
Right.
It's not good. That's a no.
Yeah. All of the amendments that we're talking about, you guys need to really go back and read for yourself. I'm just kind of summarizing and throwing in my opinion.
Exactly.
Which I don't do. So we're going to move on to Amendment 6, repeal of public campaign financing
This is a
requirements.
good one. Here, the rich get richer.
Yeah, this is all Republican. All
rich.
yeah. But anyway, let's get to it. This process to repeal provisions of the state constitution, which requires public financing for campaigns for candidates for elective statewide office who agree to campaign spending limits. This would allow basically levels the playing field is what it does. Giving individuals without special interest support or family wealth the ability to access public funds to run for office. Some of us are not born with a silver spoon and are willing to get into the political race to make a difference in our communities and in our world. But when you lack the funds, then you can't run a good campaign, or you don't last too long in the campaign, even though your intentions are good.
Yeah.
Public financing will allow diversity and fairness among participating candidates. I personally say no. Let's keep it fair.
Yeah.
But Republicans want this, obviously.
Yeah.
Need I say more? Okay, Russ.
Oh, yeah. This is strictly a Republican thing where the rich get richer.
Yeah.
Do you know in 1998, there's a law that is already on the books for this, but they want to override just to get more money. And what the system in 1998 is saying, you do your job first before we allocate public money to you. You got to do your job first, then we allocate. But they want to overtake this system.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a rich get richer scheme here.
Yeah.
That's all this is. This is a DeSantis thing, and you can see it all the way down to the basement. Yeah, this is a no shit here. No.
Yeah. Because typically the Republican Party, they have a lot of big, like the NRA, they have a lot of big followers.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of times the Democratic parties don't, they have some followers, but they don't have as much money. We all know the Republican Party is much richer. They have, the Christian Nationalist Party, they have a lot going on financially. So quite naturally going to be for this.
Truly.
So I feel to make it fair to be able to get financing, as long as you say you've done your part. Getting things going.
Right.
Okay, once again, we're out of time and we're at the end of the show. We thank you all for tuning in to the Ray Tampa podcast on 99.1 FM, The Bird.
The Bird.
And ask that you do so each and every Tuesday at 5:30.
Tune in.
Thanks. And good afternoon.
You did one. Man, this was great. This was really great.